So, you want to control your lasers with DMX? Well, it's never been easier thanks to Laserworld ShowNet. Lasers have had DMX control for quite a while now, but Laserworld have now expanded their capabilities. Before ShowNet, many DMX controlled lasers were limited to set patterns, set colours, set sizes, and you could rotate it, and that was about it. So first off, what is ShowNet? ShowNet is Laserworld's interface for communicating with a laser. It comes as an external interface or an internal interface built right into some of their laser units, like the DS units I have in the studio with me today. The external interface can plug into any ILDA-compatible laser and enable ShowNet control. Behind me, you'll notice the 11 DS units from Laserworld. We've got 10 DS1000 RGBs and one DS3000 RGB above me in the centre here. They've already been set up and ready to work on DMX using ShowNet. Thanks to DMX, each laser can be controlled individually, or they can be set up on the same address to do the same thing. But where's the fun in that? No longer do you have to have expensive ILDA interfaces per laser, a load of USB ports on your computer, and expensive and fiddly ILDA cables if you want to run shows with multiple lasers. We start by connecting the laser to DMX software or a DMX controller. On this model, we've got 3-pin XLR in and out for the DMX. On other models, it's 5-pin XLR in and out. ShowNet has two different DMX modes, a DJ mode and a professional mode. And these can be switched inside the admin tool software using a network cable, and that plugs into the LAN port on the laser. DJ mode is the more simplistic and easy to use setting, whereas professional mode gives you much more control over the entire laser. Once connected up to DMX, you set the DMX address. On the DS units, you use the standard dip switches you find on a lot of other fixtures. Just make sure that dip switch 10 is on. On other units, they have a digital screen where you can set up the DMX address. Of course, you need to ensure that the key is in and switch to the on position and the interlock is also connected. Otherwise, you're not going to get any output from the laser. Controlling lasers via DMX is no different to controlling any other DMX enabled fixture, so you don't have anything new to learn. Now we're all set up, let's get programming. ShowNet allows you to select one of 254 possible patterns or animations that are built right into the lasers and an SD card inside the ShowNet interface. You can then take those and manipulate them how you like to get the look you're after. So we thought we'd put our Lofty to the test and ask him to program a little lighting show to some music, and here's what he came up with. All of that show was programmed and controlled on Avolites Titan software, and the pre-installed files on the SD card were what were in use. We didn't add any on there ourselves. But you can use any DMX software or any DMX desk to control the lasers. I'm going to ask Lofty to give us a little rundown and a brief overview on what he did to create some of the effects using ShowNet.
So, I started by tilting the lasers up above the camera lens and above head height for safety. we're using professional mode on these lasers, which gives us the greatest amount of control on ShowNet via DMX. So, the first effects I'm going to be running through are the red lasers with the expanding green beam, which is a very, very simple effect to do with the Avolites Titan keyframe shapes. Simply select all of your laser units. Now the first thing we want to do is select which pattern we'll be using, in which case we used pattern 49 on the DS units, which gives you the long flat beam. The next thing you want to do is you want to be able to program your colours and where they'll flash from and to. To do that, you'll go into Shapes and Effects, Keyframe Shapes, Create. Then you want to select your first colour, which will be red, and then add the frame. Your second colour will be green, and you then add that frame too. So once you've finished with your two colours, you'll be going straight into the effect editor. Now the next thing you want to be able to do is you need to make the green flash and fade out to red, which is done simply by adding a snap to the end of the red frame. The next thing you want to be doing is adding a zoom pulse using the X-axis. This is done very simply in the same way as your colours have been. You'll simply select your fixtures, you will then go Shapes and Effects, Keyframe Shapes, Create. Now what you want to do for this one is you want to go to your beam attributes and then go to your X and Y sizes. So your first one will want to be 0. You're going to add that frame, and your second frame will want to be at 100%. So now I have recorded my X-axis keyframe shape. All I need to do is match the frame to our colour shape above. So that's the basic part of the effect done. All we're going to do now is spread it across 2 fixtures per keyframe shape. And that is the effect done. The next effect are the green hot beams, which are also easily achieved by the keyframe shapes and position palettes. To set this effect up, all we need to do is select our laser units and narrow down both the X and Y axis until we get a single beam. Now this beam can be any colour you want, however in the video we have opted for green. To speed things up, we've programmed our 4 position palettes, one at the end of each axis. So we're going to head over to our keyframe shapes and we're going to record 1 position for each frame. Once we've finished, you'll see a sweeping effect. So all I've done for this effect is I've reduced the width of each of the frame to around about 10%. This gives us a shorter, snappier transition. All that's left to do is spread this across all of our fixtures, and then we can adjust the speed to whichever track we need. At the very beginning of the video, you'll notice the 6 lasers at the bottom expanding from a hot beam to a wide fan of beams whilst going from blue to green. As the DS units have analog modulation, we can use RGB colour mixing to create fades, snaps, chases, or to mix any colour we want, including rainbows, like this. Now this effect was the simplest of them all. This only included 2 cues, the first of which being a thin blue beam, and the second of which being a wider fan of green beams. Now the simplest way to make that was to add a fade time between our 2 cues, which for the video we set at around about 5 seconds. So when we hit that, the lasers then fan out and fade to green.
So you can see controlling the lasers via DMX and creating some of those effects are actually pretty easy, and it's actually no different to any DMX programming that you've done before. Some of you may actually be concerned about some of the safety aspects involved, but don't worry about that. Laserworld have already thought about it, and ShowNet also has some safety zones set up inside that you can control via DMX. You can also set up safety and projection zones inside the admin tool of ShowNet and upload them directly to the laser, which means they're permanently stored on board or on board of your external interface. This is really useful if you're having a guest LD come along, or if you're letting someone loose and programming your lasers and you don't want them to scan into the crowd. It simply turns the laser off at the point that you set. Nice and easy. You can even control the lasers using Laserworld's free ShowEditor software or their paid for Show Controller software. You can do this by using a simple network cable from your computer. For multiple lasers, we highly recommend using a router or a network switch. Some of the higher end lasers have inbuilt network switches, which means that you can connect the lasers up like you do with DMX in a daisy chain fashion, but instead you're using the network cables and connecting it straight to your computer. It makes it really, really easy. And this still gives you control over each individual laser if you wanted to. Maybe we'll do another video on that a little bit more in depth at a later date. Whilst we're speaking about software, did we mention that the admin tool allows you to put your own custom animations and patterns directly onto the ShowNet interface? So, if you're wanting to project, say, the names of a couple for a wedding, you can create this before the day, upload it directly to the laser, and on the day you can trigger the effect via DMX. The animations or patterns don't have to be one colour either. They can be full colour if you like. With DMX, it allows you to change the colour to a single solid colour or have the original colours of the pattern or animation. You can also run effects like fades and snaps over the top if you want to. So there's a quick overview of how to control your lasers via DMX using Laserworld ShowNet. Now you've seen how easy it is, you should give it a go too. Of course, there's so much more that you can do with the lasers that we haven't shown today, but if you do have any questions, please feel free to get in touch or leave a comment.